Aston Villa are going to beat Crystal Palace, Darren Ambrose's former club, in the race to sign the Watford winger Ismaila Sarr. A fee of £25 million plus add-ons, we understand, at talkSPORT has been agreed. Sarr was left out of Watford's game this weekend due to a mystery injury. My understanding is that he's made it pretty clear to the Hornets that he wants to leave. I don't really understand this signing, if I'm being honest, because Villa seem to have a lot of this type of player. They've got Buendia, they've got Coutinho is a bit of a flair player as well. Where does Ismaila Sarr really fit in, Darren Ambrose, this Aston Villa team for that kind of money?
Competition, I think. Obviously, squad depth. I think they need, as we've seen already, teams need squad depth, and Ismaila, for me, Sarr is too good for the Championship, I feel, and he don't want to be lingering in the Championship for too long. He's a fantastic player, showed his quality already this season in the Championship, so he needs to get out, and I think he's been trying that from day one, soon as the window opened. I'd have liked to have seen him at Crystal Palace, actually, again, for squad depth. And I think you're going to see a lot of teams rotating. There's 5 subs again this season now. So you're going to see a lot of teams needing those kind of changes. And, you know, in particular, yesterday, Aston Villa needed that kind of change, and he'd have been perfect to come on and then rotate. So I think this will be a good signing. I understand that they do have a lot of players like Sarr, but he's going to be coming in with a point to prove. He's back in the Premier League. It'll be exciting. It will build the other players around him as well to say, right, we now have competition. We're not automatically got our starting position. So this is a good signing for me if it goes on. And what do you say, 25 million plus add-ons? That's relatively cheap in today's day and age.
Yeah, and you know what? I think he's more than just a flair player. I do. And I think what you're seeing as well with Aston Villa, I think he's still chopping and changing. So he doesn't know if he wants to play 1 striker, 2 strikers. So, and again, it's competition. Like, I think for any footballer, the worst thing you can do is be complacent. And when you know you've got quality everywhere you look, it keeps you on your toes. So, listen, I do think it'll be a good sign for him, because we see, listen, I played against Sarr a couple times and he is problematic. He's direct, and you've seen it. You saw the goal he scored the other day. And he's a problem. So I actually think it'll be a good signing.
Yeah, you feel a bit for Rob Edwards because they've already lost Watford Emmanuel Dennis. He, of course, completed his move to Nottingham Forest a week or so ago. Looks like João Pedro could well be on his way to Newcastle as well. Club still negotiating a fee for him. We spoke about Chelsea earlier. Wesley Fofana left out by Leicester yesterday because his head, according to Brendan Rodgers, wasn't in the right place. He was still watching in the stands as Leicester lost 2-1 at home to Southampton. Judging by what we saw today, Chelsea losing at Leeds, would you expect now a new bid to come in for Wesley Fofana? They need cover, don't they, in that centre-back area? The fact that Reece James was having to play out of position, it just disrupted the whole 11. Yes,
I think you probably expect another bid relatively soon for Fofana, and I think kind of judging by him not being in Leicester's squad, I think they know it's potentially coming. And today's result, and obviously the sending off of Koulibaly, is probably going to push this even closer. How much they're going to bid, I don't know. Will they meet the demands? 85 million potentially. Will they meet that? I'm not too sure.
I feel like 75 might be enough if the bulk of the cash is paid up front and if the add-ons attached to it are realistic. I mean, it's still big money.
Yeah, I just, listen, we all know about the transfer market. I just think it's a lot of money, period. I mean, and look, again, I'm going to say I played against him in a pre-season game for Wickham against Leicester, and he's a good player, very good player. And I know what Leicester's saying. They want 85. They want a world record. I just think it's a lot of money. But I think Leicester will know they stuck to their guns with Maguire, and I think they've got their policy of how they do it, and they will see Chelsea are desperate for him. And I think Chelsea will. I think it'll get to a point where, to Chelsea, what is 10 million? So if they've got 75, what's 85 to them? So I think the deal will get done. And we just watch this space.
One deal that Manchester United are hoping to get done between now and September the 1st, when Jim White and myself, Alex Crook, will be on air for a deadline night special, 10 to 11, part of the Sports Bar as the windows slam shut, is Antony, the Ajax midfielder. Hasn't been training with Ajax in the last 72 hours or so. Isn't featuring for them this weekend. He's made it pretty clear that he wants to follow Erik ten Hag to Old Trafford, but it might take €100 million, Darren Ambrose.
I mean, you're the United supporter, Crookie. What are you making of that? I think Casemiro potentially getting done. It's a good signing. They need cover, they need more than cover in the deep line midfield position. I think he'll fit in brilliantly. I don't know. Antony's a good player. 100 million, I think, is very high. Okay, it's the value that they've put on him, but what do you make of that?
It's huge. It's huge money for a player who is only really proven in the Eredivisie. And I think actually it's no coincidence that the owners have suddenly loosened the purse strings when there's talk of a potential takeover and when there's going to be mass protests outside Old Trafford tomorrow. The question I would ask the Glazer family is, if you're willing to spend £60 million on Casemiro, €100 million on Antony at the end of the transfer window, why weren't you willing to spend this money at the start of the window so that Manchester United could do what the likes of Arsenal and Tottenham have done, got their players in early and gelled the squad? This is all panic stations.
But do you think
it's a PR exercise?
No, of course, I'm not into Man United, but was it the Glazers family that didn't have the money? That's what I'm trying to get. Was it not them? Weren't the money always there?
I just think it's too much of a coincidence that you have one of Britain's wealthiest men who comes out, a Manchester United fan, says he wants to buy the club. You've got probably the biggest ever protest against the owners outside Old Trafford before that game, live on talkSPORT tomorrow. It's too much of a coincidence that the owners have suddenly found £150 million down the back of their posh sofa.
Just screams of panic. Screams of panic buying.
Yeah.
Trying to appease the supporters, actually bringing players in, but is 100 million and 58, whatever it is, for Casemiro, is that going to be enough to appease any Manchester United supporter?
No, I think it's beyond that. And what I would say, and a lot of people have said this, I think Mark Goldbridge will touch on it on the Transfer Centre later. Let's not pretend and let's not be fooled, if you're a Manchester United fan, that just because the Glazers are suddenly being seen to be backing the club in the transfer window, the point remains, the point that Gary Neville made on Sky, this isn't their money. It's not coming out their personal fortune. It's revenue that's generated by the football club. The fact they're now spending it to try and appease the supporters, to try and appease their new manager, doesn't change the fact. The only way this football club gets back to anywhere near where it should be and where it wants to be is under new ownership. So Manchester United fans, do it the right way tomorrow. We don't want to see a repeat of the last time you protested before the Liverpool game, fans breaking into the stadium, matches being postponed, because Jurgen Klopp has already said if it happens again, the Premier League needs to give us the points. I think he's right. Protest in the right way, but do protest. Do not let this paper over the cracks. The Glazers will not take your football club forward.